So Scorpion and Cole kill Sub-Zero.
Scorpion then departs, and Raiden and the other champions arrive.
After that, well, Shang Tsung shows up to be a sore loser and gets zapped away by Raiden.
Shang Tsung shows up.
Shang Tsung appears to spout some more ominous setup for the sequel. No matter how many of my people you put in the ground, there will always be another to take their place. But death is only another portal.
Takes the bodies of his dead warriors, because death is just another portal, apparently.
Shang Tsung also arrives vowing revenge as he sends all of his champions' corpses back to Outworld before Raiden banishes him.
I can't say as much for what I thought would be the final showdown between Raiden and Shang Tsung, because that was a little underwhelming. Just kind of felt like they had a nice little chat and went their separate ways.
This whole scene between Raiden and Shang Tsung reminds me of Magneto and Professor X in the X-Men movies.
I guess it's a healthier confrontation than we've seen, throughout the other movies.
Good stuff.
And then Raiden's like, I'm going to assemble new champions.
Raiden orders the remaining warriors to seek out more champions for the tournament.
At this point, Raiden now declares that his intention is to train new warriors in preparation for the next tournament, which I believe is coming up very, very soon, and his current champions are set out to recruit them.
And we get the setup for the next movie with the picture of Johnny Cage in the background.
Cole says he's heading to Hollywood, and we get a glimpse of a poster of Johnny Cage in Citizen Cage.
And they hint that Johnny Cage will be coming in the next movie.
At the end of the movie, they tease our boy Johnny Cage, and I could not be more excited. I was really feeling we were missing Johnny from this one. Maybe I'm alone on that. I don't know.
So Cole departs for Los Angeles in search for the martial artist, the movie star himself, Johnny Cage, and I cannot wait to see him in the next movie.
Hey, going to Hollywood.
Yes, I love Johnny Cage. Some balls are about to get punched.
But I was really excited to see that he'd be in the sequel.
And they don't show Johnny's face, which is a good move. Because, it'd be a damn shame if they did and then had to, change actors or something for the next movie.
Now, Hollywood, I know you're big fans of the We Can Make This Work, Probably Network. You guys rave about it all the time. Listen, 2 words for Johnny Cage. Ryan Reynolds. All right? Do it. Don't let us down.
And we end on a cliffhanger.
And then we get the theme song.
Then we end on the epic Techno Syndrome theme.
Mortal Kombat!
Dun 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 dun.
Dun 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 dun.
Fort!
This is such a great dubstep remix of the theme. It might be my favorite version of the Mortal song so far.
If you wanted to watch the Mortal Kombat tournament, you gotta stay tuned for the sequels.
At least it opens up the opportunity to meet Quan Chi in another movie. I mean, they do have Sub-Zero signed up for total 5 movies.
These credits are pretty awesome with all the images forming out of blood splatters. Definitely has me pumped for more of these.
And that's Mortal Kombat 2021.
Okay, so that was Mortal Kombat 2021.
Again, this is just the perfect popcorn movie.
I thought the first half of this movie was incredible.
So all in all, again, they really went all out for this one, and it shows.
Watch this with your buddies, bring some beers.
All in all, I liked the movie. It was fun. I got to see a lot of really great fight scenes and a lot of the gore and violence that you were expecting to see in their earlier movies, just from having played the games and being familiar with, they've always just caused problems from being violent and gory.
The second half of this movie is a mess.
And look, I'm not saying this movie is shit. Annihilation still holds that title.
In my opinion, way better than the ones that were made in the 90s.
But if we're comparing them all together with its live-action counterparts, I don't know. This could be considered one of the better ones, although it does kind of drag, like I said, in the middle.
Clearly better than Armageddon, which was just pure garbage.
And I really enjoyed it. I'm going to watch it at least one more time before it's off of HBO Max. It's really cool. It actually might be one I actually go and pay money for the hard copy for. We'll see.
The effects in this movie are pretty CGI heavy, but it's fun. The ones that actually stood out to me are all the Sub-Zero ones, because ice is hard to computerize, and they did a great job, including ripping Jax's arms off. Again, rip Uncle Ben.
For a Sub-Zero fan like myself, yeah, Yeah, this hits a lot of the right buttons for me.
And then there's an ice blade made of frozen blood that's pretty cool. And then like the whole snow sequence in the beginning.
The opening was really great. Got out of the gate right away with just lots of fun action and really well done fight scenes. But the ending, I will admit, kind of leaves you feeling unsatisfied for me.
I'm also really glad that Johnny wasn't in this.
But yes, of course, we did allude to the fact that they're now gathering fighters for the next bout with Outworld, and totally says that they're looking for Johnny Cage next, which you might have noticed I haven't talked about him yet because he wasn't actually in the movie, right?
I love the stuff with Scorpion and Sub-Zero, how it transfers over to Cole, how Cole's an MMA fighter who gets his ass kicked all the time, but now he's got to fight in a tournament for the entire planet.
I thought Cole Young as a character kind of sucked.
Cole is the personification of studio executives sticking their opinions in movies they don't understand.
Man, there are too many people bitching about Cole existing in this movie.
I didn't mind Cole Young. I just wasn't a fan of his character. I felt the writing for him wasn't that great.
And then, like, the other movies handle the characters kind of really badly. Except for Scorpion's Revenge. It was mostly good.
It's just good fun.
When I first heard about Cole Young, I was convinced he would be revealed as Kuai Liang, Bi-Han's long-lost brother, and that he would take up the mantle of Sub-Zero by the end. Kuai Liang even sounds a lot like Cole Young when spoken in Mandarin. Turns out, of course, that wasn't the case. But it was still cool how he ended up being tied into the whole clan feud as the descendant of Hanzo Hasashi.
I still think Cole was a good decision in this movie.
The rest of the characters are fine. They're all a little washed out.
I love Sonya and Jax with Kano. I thought that was really good stuff.
My favorite actor in this film and character was definitely Josh Lawson and playing Kano. His interpretation of Kano was incredibly entertaining, very quotable, although I may not be quoting him in public. But I am glad that they turned him into a full-on bad guy.
I'm not opposed to Kano being a bad guy and turning, but I think this was a real weak heel turn by him.
I was enjoying his character, even though they were kind of teasing with him being a anti-hero and being on the side of Earthrealm. I wasn't sold on that, and I wasn't a big fan of it, but when they had the twist partway through, I said, okay, good, he's a bad guy, I'm happy.
Raiden being, I don't know, background noise, and I sometimes confuse him with Ken Watanabe.
I really enjoyed the fact that we got Kung Lao in this.
For a character that's been in the game since Mortal Kombat 2, it's kind of surprising it took them this long to put him in a movie. And he looks awesome.
Not sad about it. The hat fatality was freaking awesome.
Max Huang was awesome as Kung Lao, and I'm so angry he died.
I mean, I loved getting Kung Lao in there. It was finally like a different character.
He embodied that character straight out of the games.
And just getting to throw in his fatality with the hat like that, it was just freaking awesome. It was really well done. I enjoyed that.
And had the coolest fatality in the movie, bar none.
While Kung Lao had the best fatality, he was also basically a placeholder character.
There's a lot of fatalities and finishing moves. I think I would go with Liu Kang's when he summons the fire dragon.
Liu Kang was a whiny little brat, but honestly played pretty well and has potential for growth. Sonya was wonderfully cast, and played by Jessica McAdamy. I appreciated Jax's reboot, and his tiny little baby arms. Sure, they get big and become what we all expected of them, but can we all laugh at the little Johnny Five claws trying to do the butt punching bag?
Now, Chin Han plays Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung is just played by some guy.
Although he had pretty big shoes to fill after the amazing performance by Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa in the 95 movie, I think Han does a pretty good job here with what he's given. I don't think this guy is capable of playing anything but a creepy villain. He was great in The Dark Knight and was awesome in the Netflix Marco Polo series. Oh, never mind. He also played Togusa in the Ghost in the Shell movie, which I thought he was pretty good in.
They should have brought back Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa, but I know why they didn't, because he would have stolen the show completely.
Obviously, it goes without saying that Tagawa did an amazing job with the original portrayal of Shang Tsung, but for this one, Shang Tsung isn't the main villain this time around. He's kind of barely in the movies, so he doesn't really get a chance to shine in the same way that Tagawa was. And it's clear they're going for a more subdued version and less over the top. I'm sure we'll see a lot more of him in the next one, but this one was kind of just to set up these characters for the tournament. I don't blame them for going for a different direction with Shang Tsung because, I feel like it's a pretty hard task to top Tagawa's performance in the original.
2/3 of the way through the movie, they introduce a bunch of new villains and then try to develop rivalries with all the heroes. The problem with this movie is there's too many characters and they try to follow too many storylines. Like Jax and Liu Kang, they don't need to have their big dramatic moments where they kill their guy at the end because we haven't developed those characters enough. We haven't spent enough time with them. The story here is Scorpion Sub-Zero and Kano Sonya. And you can throw Jax in with the Sonya storyline. You know, the movie here is Cole is a descendant of Scorpion. He gets the mark. He's found by Sonya and Jax. They help find Raiden, and then we're getting ready for the tournament. And along the way, we're being attacked, like Terminator style, right? It becomes a complete disaster when they try to throw all of this other stuff in there, right? Like, even when you look at the Avengers movies, they didn't try to give, like, individual bad guys to all of the main characters.
I'm going to miss Josh Lawson as Kano, but Johnny Cage will be a good replacement.
But, like, Kano gets to shine, which I appreciate, and Kano is the stand-in for the audience throughout this movie. Like, he's the one asking all the questions, he's the one getting all of the things, he is the one that is kind of guiding us, and again, Cole is the one who's kind of guiding the story and the lore.
It was weird for me. It seemed odd because you just kind of got used to seeing those same people are always in the movies.
After watching this, I kind of understand the choice to not use Johnny Cage as our POV character this time. It totally makes sense to save him for the sequel. Kano has enough ego for this whole movie, and it would probably be distracting to have both of them at once, especially since they'd probably be arguing the entire time.
I would have hated to see Johnny Cage in this movie, because then you have this Kano and then Johnny Cage, and it would be too much like the original movie where there's too many Johnnies in the cage.
But hopefully we'll see him in the future. I don't know.
They let Kano breathe, and I really hope if they do a second film that they kind of remove Kano and focus more on Johnny, because I want that character to be unique and to be recognized.
If they're smart, they'll probably find a way to bring Kano back with his cybernetic eye, but I think it'd be even better if they saved him for a surprise reveal in the third movie. Kind of like how he was absent in the second game.
I think Scorpion's Revenge Johnny is one of the best fleshed out Johnnies we've had so far, and I really want that character to shine so that in like another movie they can bring them both in, and then you have a better appreciation for these two completely unique assholes.
Since they are saving Cage for the next movie, it gives Kano an opportunity to shine here. And I also think that Cole's a better character for the audience to relate to, rather than compromising Liu's character as a Shaolin monk, since, you know, for the 95 movie, they had to Americanize him a little bit.
I would love to see who they would cast as Johnny in today's day and age. And it would also be fun to see, like, maybe Johnny and Sonya in their merry time when they have Cassie. You know, like, there's other possibilities there. Heck, I think it would even be interesting to dive into the other dimensions. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens from here.
Hiroyuki Sanada was perfectly cast as Hanzo Hasashi, but he felt wasted in this movie. He really only got a chance to shine in the opening sequence, then the character of Scorpion was relegated to a glorified cameo at the end.
Coolest fight scenes, I just loved the final Scorpion and Sub-Zero fight. So many Easter eggs and moves, and especially when Hanzo comes back as Scorpion, the first time he says, "Get over here!" Oh, that was great.
I still don't know why he had to have a descendant. Why was his bloodline so important? Little details could have made the story make more sense. For example, Hanzo Hasashi was destined to defeat Outworld forces in Mortal Kombat, so Shang Tsung hired Bi-Han to take him out. Sure, there was already a rivalry, but now, why not make it interesting? Bi-Han is imbued with powers granted by Shang Tsung. Explaining that detail, Bi-Han kills all of the Shirai Ryu, thinking he's severed the bloodline. Shang thinks he's won, and Earthrealm is a shoo-in. Enter Cole whatever years later, and boom, prophecy's still on the table. But even still, I don't like Cole.
He was created for this movie.
Now, going back to Cole, I know some people dislike him, but he didn't really bother me, honestly.
He is not my favorite one, especially where his weapon and ability is plot armor. That's what it is.
And unlike normally predictable decisions, Cole is not a stand-in for the audience. That is another character. Cole is basically a vehicle for the lore to happen.
Cole is the personification of studio executives sticking their opinions in movies they don't understand.
I know, and I understand other people who said it felt like he was shoehorned in, and I do agree we could have told the story without, a non-canon character, but for me, he was fine.
Basically, Cole actually, surprisingly, doesn't have a lot to do in this movie. On the second watch, I paid more attention to when he shows up and when he is on screen. He's not in a ton of this movie as like being the main face.
I felt like his powers were kind of mad because like all that build up for the movie, it just seems like he gets like a indestructible gold shirt. So okay, then whatever.
And again, really the only times he is in a scene is when they are just kind of expounding more on lore or furthering the plot.
Anytime you hear that a studio left production alone and allowed the creatives to do their thing is typically a damn good movie.
So if you view this movie as an introduction to a franchise and not a standalone movie, Cole's complete lack of growth makes a lot more sense now, because a part of him has improved, but not all of him. And the movie does show you this is what Cole can become. He has this capacity to be the next Scorpion, but he won't be exactly the same.
The first time we see Sub-Zero, where he's no longer Bihan of the Lin Kuei, he's just Sub-Zero. It's like 400 years after he fought Scorpion, and they killed the Shirai Ryu. And he's still like just chilling.
Now, there's a lot going on in terms of implied narrative, because much like in the original Star Wars trilogy, not every little detail is explained, but it feels like a lived-in universe. They rightfully chose to not bog down the pace of the story by giving us just enough to go on.
And there's really no explanation for how this dude is like 400 plus years old, other than like he's really cold.
For instance, it's never outright explained why Sub-Zero is still alive centuries later, but there are a few possible explanations. His ice powers cause him to age slowly, basically preserving him. Perhaps time flows differently in Outworld, which would actually explain away a lot of the plot holes in the MK lore. Bihan, like Shang Tsung, is clearly from Earth, so maybe he too betrayed his own realm in exchange for immortality?
I assume it's just because he's been hanging around with Shang Tsung or something to do with Outworld. I don't know. But it was a little weird. That said, you know, he was really done justice, I felt like. He was awesome.
I think this is one of the best movies that I've seen that was good at being an introduction. And that is why I said earlier, it really, really needs a sequel to justify a lot of the decisions that were made here and now.
I'm excited to see where the next sequel goes.
But like most of the movie has cool fights, and then there was not really a story to connect them.
It's true that there's no actual tournament in this movie, which, fair.
I think some people were bothered by the fact that this was called Mortal Kombat, but there was no tournament. Like, the end of the movie gets you in that kind of tournament feel, but it is all during that final act.
The perfect Mortal Kombat movie should basically be a sports film with excessive gore.
It's a reboot. I'm okay with not having the tournament in this movie, but the next movie would need to have the tournament. You can't do the exact same movie again with the same plot, just with new characters for movie number 2.
It's problematic for many reasons. Films like this have fallen apart in the past.
I mean, I guess I didn't play Mortal Kombat after 2 or maybe 3, so I just don't recognize any of these characters, which is fine, but like, in a movie, you're supposed to make it so that a pleb like me can track it, right?
This movie needs a sequel.
They are too concerned about building a world and planning for multiple sequels that they actually forget to focus on the story at hand.
I get that they're probably trying to introduce a franchise here as opposed to a standalone movie, obviously, because they didn't wrap it up.
Just look at the last Mummy movie.
But, you know, this was really good. This was a good start.
So if another movie doesn't pan out, this ending will really blow.
I'd honestly be kind of fine if Cole's role in this franchise ended by, the end of the second film. You don't have to kill him off. You can make him kind of a waste.
So as far as characters I'm hoping to see in the sequel,
Again, I really want Kano to be brought back.
I mentioned before in the Legacy episode that Katana has always been one of my favorite characters to play as, so I really hope they finally do her justice next time around.
In the sequel, I really want to see Katana. Obviously, we've seen Melina, who was awesome and gross. I want to see Katana and Jade.
My only main concern is you took out some big names in this movie before the tournament even happened. Melina, Kano, Reptile, Goro, Kung Lao.
And hopefully, in the sequel, like Liu Kang or somebody can kill Shang Tsung and revive Kung Lao, maybe? I don't know. It's a little weird that they killed him like that, especially because Liu Kang and Ko Yang were both standing very close by and had their powers at that point and could have done something to stop it. But they were like, nah, we'll just let him die. Anyway,
Sub-Zero, he can, of course, come back as Noob Saibot, but what are you going to do with the other ones? Maybe they'll be resurrected, maybe they'll be revenants. I don't know. Are we going to get into that in the next film or not?
Of course, we'll probably get to see Bihan return in his Wraith form as Noob Saibot. Although, I kind of hope they don't call him that, because I always thought that name was kind of dumb.
and I can't wait to see if they decide to go with bringing the Kuai Lang version of Sub-Zero into the story, the heroic version, or at least anti-heroic, or if they're just going to leave his ass dead, or if we're going to see Bihan again as Noob Saibot, or what. But yeah, he was something else. He was really worth watching the movie alone for me.
I would love to see Kenshi in a movie. Ever since Deadly Alliance, he's always been one of my favorite new characters. The whole blind samurai warrior thing is pretty cool. I also think it'd be awesome to see D'Vorah or Scarlet. I'd love to get some more Raiden action, and I'm sure we'll get way more Liu Kang and Shang Tsung next time around.
Obviously, I want to see Shao Kahn. I mean, who doesn't want to see Shao Kahn? I want to see Baraka.
I am curious to see how they'll end up bringing Sub-Zero and Scorpion back into the mix. I'm assuming we'll probably get Kuai Liang as the new Sub-Zero, but the only way I could see Hanzo coming back is if he's like manipulated by Quan Chi or something.
And hopefully we get some cool surprises. Again, I always like Kintaro myself.
Since they ended up killing off Goro in the first movie, they actually have an opportunity to bring Kintaro into the mix and kind of build him up as like a way more badass version of Goro. They could really play him up as like the real threat, kind of the way they used Goro in the 95 movie.
Goro can easily be replaced by Kintaro, which perfectly fine. That makes sense.
We'll see. We'll see what we get. Maybe some Sindel action. I don't know. Hopefully some surprise characters will be showing up in the sequel. Obviously, they're pulling from like the entire roster. If they're going to show Nitara, obviously they're pulling from some of the later games. So maybe we'll see some characters we don't expect.
I think Aaron Black would be a cool throwaway character to just kind of throw in, kill off.
Tremor would be kind of cool, I guess. But I don't know, man. You could maybe do some cyber ninjas, but I kind of prefer they stay away from that. Maybe don't focus so much on the ninjas. Give us one or two more at most and see what else you got. But
the franchise has over 70 characters to pick from, so like honestly, if they ditch Cole as a story progressing element, then they would be totally fine by then.
I do want to see Kuai Lang Sub-Zero, but I don't know if you want to leave him for the third movie or if you just want to leave him out altogether. If they wanted to leave him and the Noob Saibot thing out altogether, I'd totally understand it. Just move forward with different characters. I'd be fine with that. But I do love some Sub-Zero, so if you're going to give us more, I'm happy with that too.
Either way, though, I really hope we don't see Stryker, ever again. That guy.
I guess the whole thing was kind of dumb.
It is pretty good on its own. I feel like there are a lot of faults. I'm not really going to rag on it much because I think it did very well. But the one thing that I cannot get out of my head is this movie needs a sequel.
But it was fun dumb.
This movie is not good on its own. If this is the last one that they made, then it would just kind of be mediocre at best.
The fatalities, there's actual fatalities, and they're fucking gross. Kano ripping out Reptile's heart. That's disgusting. When Kung Lao killed Nitara, the bat lady from Deadly Alliance and all that garbage, it was one of the fatalities from Mortal Kombat 10 or 11, and it was disgusting, and it was awesome. And then Jax killing Riku, and it just, oh man, really dug it. Sub-Zero killing everybody. They really went for it, and it was spectacular. It was really something to watch. It was really disgusting.
There are a ton of Easter eggs in this movie, and I'll admit, some of them go over my head. But there are a great amount of them in Sonya's War Room, including notes about Nightwolf and some of the other heroes.
And then there's also the Amulet of Shinnok and one of Kitana's fan blades.
Easter eggs are cool for hardcore fans, but you can't just throw 6 new villains into the movie at the 1 hour mark and expect us to remember their names, let alone have time for them to develop rivalries, fight, and be defeated by the heroes in the next 30 to 35 minutes.
Easter eggs are great, and well-placed ones can lead to something later on. Great examples in this movie were Shinnok's amulet in Raiden's temple, and Liu Kang referencing his former master Bo Raicho. These were little nuggets that rewarded fans while also planting little seeds.
I also understand that, like, you have this kind of built-in video game following, so you have these video game characters and you want to have shout-outs to the people that played all the games, which is great. But, like, you know, whatever, like, post-apocalyptic Deadpool shows up and, like, he can just be we don't have to give him a whole thing. We can just have him show up and fight and get fatalitied, and that would just be like Liu Kang holding off the bad guys, and people who know the games would see it and be like, oh yeah, that's post-apocalyptic Deadpool. He's great. I used to play as him in Mortal Kombat 7. And then he dies, but we don't need the Mortal Kombat Annihilation thing where we pan across all of the different guys. Like, here's Girl Goro, here's like Goofy Ninja Guy, here's like Chick with the Wings, and then they all do like their pose and they say their little one-liners, right? We don't need that in this. It just convolutes everything, and now there's a bunch of characters with names that I don't even know, and I don't even know they say them in the movies. Very confusing and jumbled, unnecessarily so.
It's like, hey, we're going to show you a stupid thing, and you're going to understand it's stupid the whole time, but just watch it, and you'll have a great time. It was like that. That's the kind of movie this is.
If they make another one, I feel like they can justify a lot of the decisions that were made in this one.
I think if they keep the fight quality up and don't shoehorn in a second MMA fighter, or do like this guy does like Taibo, I don't know, like I can deal with Cole Young more if it means we don't get any more Cole Youngs, if that makes any sense.
So it's the same as a movie where there's a bunch of explosions or whatever, but in this, there's a bunch of punches and kicks.
So yeah, I mean, I honestly think I could recommend it if you're a fan of Mortal Kombat and the games. I think especially for one time through, it's entertaining. You'll find some dragging parts, but all in all, I had a good time.
I don't think that there's anything else to say about the film. It was kind of dumb. I would never watch it a second time.
This film feels like pieces are missing, and those missing pieces were replaced by other pieces that look like they could fit, but just don't.
And now that most of the iconic characters are dead, I don't know. I guess we'll just see. How it goes.
One would hope that a sequel would help make this movie better, but that's part of the problem.
It's basically just a giant act one of the full stories.
A movie shouldn't exist to make another one be better. It needs to be able to stand on its own merits.
I think that Mortal Kombat 2021 has a great movie in here, a legitimately great movie. That Scorpion and the Kano Sonya storylines are excellent, and we just needed to focus on that. They're under so much padding that it's really hard to get to them. I loved the beginning. I loved the ending fight with Cole and Scorpion working against Sub-Zero. I loved the ending fight with Sonya and Kano. I liked the Kano development over the course of the story. I think he was a well-written character. I just wish we'd kind of pared down and spent more time with the stuff that was good and cut out all the stuff that was like, oh, by the way, did you know we have 30 characters in our roster? Let's throw them all in this 30-minute stretch and have them all fight each other.
My recommendation is that you should watch the Sonic the Hedgehog movie instead of Mortal Kombat. That's my official recommendation from Logothor. There you go.
Not a flawless victory for me, despite some promising material.
Anyway, I would recommend Mortal Kombat 2021. I do think that there is a great movie hidden inside there that is worth watching. But I am curious to see what they do with the next ones. I will watch the other ones when they come out.
I'm really hoping next time around we get a sequel that pulls like a Dark Knight or Empire Strikes Back.
Final verdict, pretty stupid. The story's not the greatest, but considering the handcuffs that were put on them and the fact that really the material, unless you just do a straight adaptation of the story that's kind of already in the canon, it's going to seem kind of silly. And even that, honestly, if you look at it outside of the fan goggles, it's pretty silly. But that said, it's also really awesome, and it's a lot of fun.
And yeah, I think it was okay, not great, but it could have been like truly special.
Definitely not for anybody who's not mature enough to handle the subject matter and, more importantly, the spectacle and the constant murder. But it is very entertaining. And yeah, 2 thumbs up on this one. I liked it a lot. I hope we get some sequels.
I think it's a pretty fun movie on its own. I think it's a really solid adaptation of the games. It stays true to the lore, doesn't take itself too seriously, and it definitely sets up for a trilogy. I don't know if I love it as much as the original, but it's definitely a better movie, if that makes sense. That said, I do have to give the animated movie Scorpion's Revenge a slight edge.
So, yeah, there's my thoughts and opinions on MK 2021.
And that's what I got for Mortal Kombat 2021. Thank you very much for listening along, helping to support Podcasters Assemble and all of our different collaborators and contributors for this ongoing series.
If you're a fan, definitely check out my recent articles with Chris from Comic Zombie on geek2geekmedia.com, where we break down all the characters and their stories from all the Mortal Kombat games. Link in the show notes. As always, thank you all so much for listening to me ramble on and on about nerdy things these past few seasons. If you like what you've heard, definitely check out the podcast from all our amazing contributors, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Casters Assemble. Huge thank you as well to Vigo at Deathstroke Sound for all his amazing background music for these last couple seasons. I really appreciate everyone bearing with me on the tight schedule for submissions, and not always being able to meet my deadlines with editing. I've really enjoyed the opportunity to work on this show, and I hope to see Podcasters Assemble continue to grow in future seasons.
So anyway, thanks for having me. I love Podcast Assemble. Listen to me on the Neatcast along with my buddies Jer and Mark.
Thanks so much for having me along for Podcasters Assemble for Mortal Kombat. I've had a great time.
We'll hopefully be back later this year with even more nerdy franchises. There's a new Ghostbusters movie coming out this fall. There's a new Jurassic Park movie coming out next summer. No Time to Die still hasn't been released. There's still a few more Star Wars and Marvel entries we haven't covered. And I know a few of the podcasters on the network desperately want to tackle Studio Ghibli, Fast and the Furious, and or Pixar, so stay tuned to our social medias for announcements on future seasons. You can help support us by sharing the podcast or reviewing on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, and let us know what or who you'd like to see on a future season of the show. In the meantime, you can find me all over social media at Eric Slater, that's Eric with a K, Slater with a D, D as in dog.
I think there is a bonus episode of the best and worst Mortal Kombat games that will be coming out at some point, so I should be back for that one, unless Eric tells me to go pound sand because I keep sending him too much audio. Eric, I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Until next time, you can find me on Too Young for This Trek, Comic Zombie, and Epic Fails of History.
And can't wait to hear more from We Can Make This Work probably in the future.
All right, thanks so much, guys, and we will see you on the next one.
So thanks a lot.
And up next, we're taking a nostalgic trip down memory lane as we do a deep dive into all 11 games in the Mortal Kombat franchise.
So until next time, podcasters, assemble.
Test your mic. Podcasters Assemble is a production of the We Can Make This Work, Probably Podcast Network. Find more of our shows at probablywork.com and learn how to contribute to future episodes of Podcasters Assemble by looking us up on Twitter and Instagram at Casters Assemble or joining our Discord page, link in the show notes. Submissions are always open. Intro and outro written by Eric Slater. Music by Deathstroke Sound. You can find more of his music on Instagram at Deathstroke Sound and on Twitter at Deathstroke1. This episode was edited by Eric Slater. Thank you to everyone who was able to contribute to this episode. Be sure to check out the show notes for links where you can find them all online. Thank you.
This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably Network.
Follow us on Twitter
at Probably Work for more of our questionable content.
Also, we have a website called probablywork.com. Test. Okay. So, let's see. Here's audio. I'm not going to edit it. I'm just going to export whatever Audacity does. So you're going to have to fix the levels. Whoever edits this. Perhaps it's Eric or whoever else. Good luck.
Eric, just between you and me, this movie's bonkers. And part of me thinks it's a piece of shit, but I still love it. And part of me thinks it's like the coolest thing ever.
Man, we have been chatting a lot. I have to scroll way the up in our little messaging thing. Here we go. All right.
So we enter the secret Shaolin temple, and we do that thing I hate where they're like, here are murals of other tournaments because this is a film franchise. Did you know that there were other games and movies in this film franchise? Look, Eric, I know it's really early to submit our entries for James Bond, No Time to Die, because that's not going to come out for another 4.5 years. But I'm going to call it right now. At some point during the new James Bond movie, James Bond's going to open the door, and there's going to be like a bunch of like World War I gadgets and Victorian era gadgets and cave paintings of Walther PPKs, and Moneypenny's gonna be like, "My God, James Bonds have been fighting specters for centuries."
Joe Taslim as Bihan. Joe Taslim as Bihan. I don't know which one's correct. I just heard 2 interviews say his name both ways. Jessica McNamee. Yeah, that's wrong.
At the very end of the movie, they tease our boy Johnny Cage, and Johnny motherfucking Cage, boy. Sorry.
Oh, fuck. Tadanobu Asano as Lord Raiden. Hiroyuki Sanada as Hanzo Hasashi.
I think it goes without saying that this is one of the best. I think it kind of...
Pronunciation is key. Ludi Lin as Liu Kang.
When Kung Lao kills, oh crap. Sorry, Eric, 1 second.
Favorite finishing move, fatality. I guess, I don't know. Finishing moves are kind of dumb. Honestly, this whole thing is kind of dumb. Now that I think about it, like, now that I've left the theater, so it's 4:50 p.m., I watched the movie from 1:15 to, well, okay, I got into the theater at, like, 1:20, and then there was, like, 20 minutes of credit, of previews and stuff. So say I started at 1:30, say it went till 3:30. So between 3:30 and 4:50, I've had this long to think about the film. And actually, the film really falls under the special effect without a story is a really poor thing rule. Some director said that. Some idiot director who no one likes.
That's my Eddie Vedder impression. He's playing next door, so that's all I can hear right now is Eddie Vedder in my head.
You wanted me to record me saying I wasn't clear on what you wanted me to cut up my words. Hi, this is Locathor. There. Is that good? Is that a good take? Here, I'll do another. This is Locathor, and let's see. This is Locathor. How about that? There's a few takes in there. I don't actually. You said you wanted me to read the intro, but I don't know what the full intro is. Good luck.
He then informs her to send in the reptilian Sizoth. That's a part of my dyslexia I hate. S's and TH's.
Obviously, if they're pulling in Mitara, then, is that her name again? I already forgot.
Looks like they're watching over the Barty. The Barty? The hell is a Barty? How about the body?
I don't know what you mean by could give us your read of Podcasters Assemble. Am I supposed to say the phrase Podcasters Assemble?
Either way, though, I really hope we don't see Stryker, like, ever again. That guy.
But even still, I don't like Cole. Podcasters Assemble. Fucking beauty.